Hello guys and welcome to Vinto Productions. My name is Tom and today I have for you the Hubble Optics UL16. Before I begin, I just want to thank Richard Walker from Dakota Starry and Damien from Damien K Astrophotography. Without them and their content on this model, I probably never would have had the courage to buy this. As we are all aware, there's very little information about it on the internet, and any information that there is very outdated. I wanted to make a little video, a little review, a little demo, and show everybody what this is, what it's all about, and give everybody an updated thing to go off of. So to begin, this thing is a monolith. It's huge. I am 6 feet tall. This is the F5 model. And this maybe has 6 to 8 inches of clearance down here in the old rumpus room. The eyepiece height at zenith is probably about, I want to say 72 inches. Let's see what that is real quick. All right, let's see. That is about 73.5 inches at the center of the eyepiece. So that's pretty large. And from the shroud here to the ceiling, we're looking at like 79 inches to 89 inches at the ceiling. So this thing is, it's a big boy. So from start to finish, from the time I placed the order until the time it showed up at my door was exactly 103 days. The guy who runs Hubble Optics, Tong Lu, is phenomenal. I don't understand how he has the time and the patience to deal with all of his customers personally. But he is the only person handling sales, customer service, complaints, gripes, grudges, anything you can think of, you name it. Tong handles it, and he is pretty good about getting back to you if you have any questions before, during, and after. I've asked him at least half a dozen questions before I actually pulled the trigger and bought the thing. Then I must have emailed him every 3 weeks until it showed up at the door. And then after I finally got it, I had a couple of questions about troubleshooting, and he was on the ball every step of the way. I really got to hand it to him. He was great. So this is the UL16, the F5 model. One thing I think is worth mentioning that I didn't understand right off the bat, let me pull up the shroud here, is that with most custom scopes, the truss arms come much longer than they need to be, and that's because there are slight variations in the focal length of the mirror. So you look at the F5 and the stats, it says that the focal length is 2032 millimeters. Well, it's actually, in my case, slightly shorter. So at the end of the day, I had to cut about 3 millimeters off of each truss arm right here. You can see they connect into a two-piece system, and so what you do is you undo these machine bolts here, and you take a pipe cutter like you would use for copper pipe, and I cut off 1 centimeter at a time just because I didn't want to take off too much. So I went 1 centimeter at a time, and each time I put the upper assembly on and took it outside, and really back and forth a good 3 or 4 times at each level before I was comfortable making another cut. And ultimately I wound up cutting off 3 centimeters. On the box actually are the mirror stats, and it will tell you the focal length of the mirror. So in my case, for my mirror, the focal length was 79.22 inches, which actually equated almost exactly to the amount I cut off of the truss arms. So be prepared to cut the truss arms. It is not out of the ordinary. There's nothing wrong with your scope. You didn't get the wrong poles. It's there just so you have enough extra to cut off, whether you're using a focal reducer or Barlow, whether you want to customize your focal length for certain applications. That's what it's for. Some of the accessories I ordered that I want to go over. I think the shroud is a must-have. This is really, really good, lycra material. I also ordered the baffle, which is really nice. That attaches under the thumb screws, and the shroud goes right over it. It looks really clean, really nice. I ordered the red dot finder, which is pretty much a generic red dot finder. I mean, that's nothing special. I also went with the Skyhub 2 system, which I think is really, really cool. I'll get into that in a moment. As I'm sure you've read, this scope is very DIY. It's very DIY friendly. But you also got to be comfortable with making, your own adjustments. And you got to understand that at this price point, I mean, for $2,600 for a scope like this, that's a great price. But it again, it's not an obsession. It's not a Taurus. It's going to take you to put some custom work into it and get it just the way you want it. With those scopes, you're paying like upwards of 10 grand, and yeah, it's going to be ready to go right out of the box. So the UL16, you're going to need some counterweights. Sometimes, guys, you'll see the guy from Dakota Starry Nights, he put in like a little steel hanger right down here and put like some round weights on it from counterweights from an EQ mount. I put these ankle weights here. These are 10 pounds each, but I like it because each pouch has 10 1-pound steel bars, so I could take it out and put it in as needed. Also, the Velcro here holds the battery pack for my Skyhub, which is pretty cool. Another thing that I did that does not come with the scope, I took some really heavy-duty poster board. This stuff is like 1.5 millimeters thick, and I blacked out the entire mirror box. Front, back, side, I blacked out the whole thing. The bottom, the whole 9 yards. Now, I did cut out enough space for the collimation bolts, the push-pull brass knobs, so I could still handle that. So I would say that's a must-have to do yourself. Most larger aperture scopes, the mirror is held with a sling system. I don't know if you could see that right here. It's basically like a seatbelt material through these really good quality split bolts. I thought they were going to be like polypropylene or some kind of plastic, but they're actually stainless steel bolts with a slit cut in them. So I thought that was really, really cool, really good, durable piece of equipment. So you want almost all the weight of the mirror to be on the sling, and then the little bumper up here is just to keep it from moving forward. That's not holding much weight at all, if any. So aside from the shroud, the baffle, the red dot finder, and the Skyhub, I did order the mirror cover. It just goes in like so. I thought it was going to be a little bit higher quality, I'm not going to lie to you. It is just a piece of soft polypropylene, about 1 millimeter thick. But it does do a good job of protecting the mirror, I will say that. I did drop a few wing nuts on top of it, and obviously they bounced right off and did their job of protecting the mirror, so I was happy with that. When I saw the $50 price tag for a mirror cover, I thought it was going to be something tailor-made to fit around the mirror, but after putting everything together, I realized that's really not possible. But I would have liked a thicker piece of plastic to go up there, but I'm happy with this the way it is. Second, I did order the truss arm bag, which is really good quality, it's really durable, but at the end of the day, it's just a generic black bag for skis, for like youth size skis. So, the price is right though. You'll probably pay the same at any ski shop. And one thing I want to mention, when you download the manual for this, you'll see a couple of outdated pieces of information, like it comes in 4 boxes. Mine actually came in 3. It was the truss arms, a separate box with the mirror, and then the rest of the hardware, like the mirror box, the upper assembly, the secondary, and all that. Everything came packed and ready for war. Like, everything was individually wrapped so well and so secure. I was really impressed with that. After all, it is coming from China, and it has to go through customs, and 9 times out of 10 they tear everything open. So when I got everything was in perfect condition. Everything was really well protected, in great shape. So you got nothing to worry about there. So the Skyhub 2 system is a push-to system. And I think it's worth it. Previously I'd been using the Celestron StarSense Explorer, and I had been using that with Sky Safari 7. I really liked that because it used plate solving instead of encoders. But here you can see the azimuth encoder for the Skyhub system. That installs really easily. It connects with the little ST4 phone cable here to the encoder. And you want to be careful when you install this. You want to make sure that it's in deep enough so that when you raise and lower the scope, it doesn't catch, the mirror box doesn't catch on the encoder and yank it off or bend the shaft. That said, come over here to the altitude bearing. It is really, really important to get the alt bearing as centered as possible inside this circle. If this isn't centered as you go up or down in altitude, it's gonna come off center and keep you off target just a little bit. So getting that centered was a little bit of a challenge, but after it was done, it was done. I marked everything where it needed to be in case it ever needed to come off or anything like that, and so far it's been really, really good. Also, the Skyhub, the encoders stay on permanently. I haven't had a reason to take them off yet, even with storing my scope. Now, setting this up and breaking it down, there is a bit of a learning curve to it, but once you do it 2 or 3 times, it becomes second nature, and it's literally just 8 thumb screws on the bottom, 4 thumb screws on the top, and you're done. The upper assembly weighs enough that you can hold it with one hand while you guide it in. The secondary assembly up here is pretty straightforward as outlined in the manual. There's also a couple of sites that guide you through a really specialized way of putting the packing in here. You can kind of see the stuffing between the secondary and its housing. And like Richard Walker said in his video, this is nice because it's a physical barrier holding the mirror in place. There's no way that's going to fall out and plunk your primary. Now, I'm right-handed, but I guess you could say I'm kind of ambidextrous. I like to guide with my left hand and focus with my right, so I put the focuser on facing downwards so I can fine-tune with my right hand while I hold it with my left. Now, getting back to the Skyhub system, coming over here to the Skyhub box, this is what you get right here. There's a little switch inside for switching between Bluetooth and Wi-Fi. I use iOS devices, so I'm only able to use Wi-Fi. It did say that the new one was supposed to work with Bluetooth, but I haven't been able to get it to connect yet. That is, connect to an iOS device, but this is really easy. I use right here this little 5 amp power bank, and after hours, I mean, I used this thing probably about 4 hours last time, nonstop. I only used about 6% battery, so it really doesn't draw a lot of power. So the cables that come with that are right here. And like I said, it's a ST4 cable, one for azimuth, one for altitude, and then this one plugs right into here. And then it uses a USB 3 as a power supply. This is really cool. I've been using like a phone clamp to hold that onto the scope. I also put this on one of the truss arms to hold my phone while it's connected to Sky Safari, which has been really cool. I also put together a little bar that attaches down here with this M4 and this M6 screw. I bought like a little piece of aluminum, put a slit in it so you can slide it right in, tighten these bolts, and it stands up, and you put the phone holder right on there and it stays erect and follows you around while you're going up and down and around. So another thing worth mentioning is I'm kind of like a brand whore when it comes to TeleView, as you can plainly see. I really like my Naglers and my pan optics, and counterweight is really important with the UL16, but I will say that the focuser can handle a lot of weight. I'm talking the 35 pan optic with the 2x power mate, just for the hell of it, to see how much it could take. It was effortless moving in and out of the focuser. So I was really happy with that. And after everything was assembled, collimation was real easy. Things did shift after the first time I used it, so I did have to adjust collimation another maybe 1 or 2 times after the first light. But overall, I was blown away. The quality of the optics in my Bortle 5. Unfortunately, I don't live very close to a dark site. My backyard, luckily, is a Bortle 5. I'm very happy with what the 16-inch can show me. I'm coming from a 10-inch aperture AD10. I really liked that scope, but you just can't. It's comparing oranges and apples, 10-inch and 16-inch. A lot of people will tell you that the jump in that aperture really isn't going to show you that much extra, like a 10 to a 12 or a 12 to a 14 or 16, and that's just not true. 16-inch from a 10-inch, it's like, is the difference between seeing the blur of Bode's galaxy and then the arms of Bode's galaxy. Difference between seeing M96 and seeing M96 look like a firecracker going off in the night. So while Damien K uses his for planetary and other imaging, and Rich from Dakota Starry Nights uses his for night vision work, I'm purely visual with this. I bought this so I can look at stuff while my little on-step project was running for photography. I really hate sitting there waiting for images to stack, so while this bad boy is running with my C8 up there, I'm using this puppy to actually entertain myself while that's happening. Now for storage, I keep this thing down here in the den in this little corner right here, but I also did for long-term storage. I bought a Pelican case. I think it's the 300. There's the Pelican 0370 protector case. The thing is basically a 24-inch cube on the inside, and broken down, this fits in there like a glove. Got the pick and pluck foam that you can customize every shape and every bend to. So I got that pretty cheap, actually. You know, retail they go for upwards of $500, but I got mine on eBay for like $150. I got pretty lucky, but they're out there. You can find them with or without foam. Thank you guys for watching. I apologize for poor production value or poor editing. This is the first time I've ever made and edited a YouTube video. If you have any other questions about the UL16 system, please leave a line in the comments. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Anything you think I didn't cover, anything you would like me to cover in another video or in a comment, and clear skies. And hope you're getting out there as much as you can. Look at everything you can whenever you can.